Greetings, all you Jackson Jets out there, and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. Everybody's in the house today. Viking Donkey's right here. Guys, say hello.
Woo! Mutant Gigi in the house. What up, everyone?
Lasker's in the house. What's up, everyone?
Thought you were
Howdy.
passed out drunk there. Thank God you're still with us, Laskers.
Howdy.
We're here to talk about what happened in Week 9 and what's going to happen in Week 10. We got some fun news stories. We're going to talk AFC North football. But first, the biggest story of the week has to be Odell Beckham Jr. going to the Rams. Oh my God, now they have 3 receivers. Oh wait, Robert Woods tears his ACL the next day. Does Odell Beckham present an upgrade from Robert Woods? Or is this now a downgrade by signing Odell Beckham Jr.? Gingy?
Odell who? Not
Uh,
inconsequential to me. Moving from the AFC to the NFC. I don't know. The guy's a wild card. He plays well when he feels well. If everything is good around him and everything is all happy and everything is according to his liking, he's a great player.
Well,
Attitude.
Gingy, I for one am sad to see him go because the Cleveland Browns, Laskers, the Cleveland Browns, a lot better team without Odell than with Odell. So bad for the Steelers that Odell Beckham Jr. is leaving?
Man.
I do think it's hard to say, but my thing was going to be, is Odell a jinx? You know, he goes to the Browns, and yeah, they haven't performed very well with him, and then Robert Woods tears his ACL.
Ooh, Gingy, what you think about that?
Hot take, Laskers. Hot take. I don't know. What I think, I don't necessarily think he's a jinx. I think he causes division in the locker room. I think it's more of a chemistry thing than it is an on-the-field play type of X's and O's. Just my take.
Well, what I will say is last week without Odell Beckham, that was the best I've seen the Browns play all year. Say what you want. That was the best looking Browns game I've seen all year. But let's get in. You guys watched Thursday night. We had an important AFC game going on, AFC North game. Baltimore losing to Miami.
Important in Snorefest. What was it? There was no Baltimore, 3 Baltimore points through 4 quarters.
Snorefest?
Snorefest.
Dude, there was an illegally caught flipping fat guy touchdown. That wasn't. But still, come on. That is my vote for play of the year, is flipping fat guy touchdown.
Typical Thursday snooze fest.
I'm going to agree with Gingy on this one.
I'm trying to sell it here. Come on. There's only so much you can do about a fake football game, okay? I know we're never going to get rid of Thursday night because of the money, but let's be honest. Does anyone enjoy watching Thursday night football? Because it's always bad football. It's never good games. Like, what is it? Maybe 2 good games a year out of all the Thursday nighters they have? The only Thursday that should have football is my day of gluttony, my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving. How dare they ruin Thursday football by making it now just vanilla? You know what I mean?
I was going to say the only good games are on Thanksgiving.
Well, except for last year when the only game that would have been a good game got delayed for like 20 years because, well, COVID happened. Speaking of which, COVID happened. Laskers, would you like to tell the people?
Ben Roethlisberger is out this week due to testing positive today.
Oh boy, oh boy. Gingy, is there a worse day to have your quarterback learn that he's out than a Saturday?
There's no good day to get COVID, donkey. That's crazy. All right, this team has been preparing with Ben Roethlisberger all week. Not a good time at all. Not a good time. Never a good time though, donkey. The real key is get well to Ben Roethlisberger. Next man up. What do you think here? Mason, is he ready?
You know about my love for Mason, and I will get into that when we get into the game. But first, I guess we'll talk about the AFC North and finish off our AFC North talk. We all picked that Baltimore game very poorly. I felt like it was the episode of How I Met Your Mother, and the guy, it just keeps knocking and going, "You chose poorly." Like, that's what I really feel happened there. I don't know what's going on. I didn't like it. But we have one more game to talk about in the AFC coming up, right? So, Gingy, do you want to lead us into the preview of the other AFC game, or would you like to hand it off to Laskers?
The other AFC game.
Yeah, AFC North game.
Browns Bengals. Yeah.
Try again.
I think he means Ravens Vikings.
What?
I think it's try again.
Oh, you're talking about this
Tell me
week.
what you want. Dog.
This week! I want this week's game, guys! You're killing me! You are killing me!
You freaking say it then, damn it. You don't. Poor setup, boy. Poor setup.
All right, we got
Pay
the
for
Cleveland Browns going to the New England Patriots. Big game for Cleveland, big game for New England, big game in the AFC wildcard rankings as both these teams are sitting 5-4, 5-3, those
5-4.
ish records. Okay. New England looking good, Cleveland looking good without Odell Beckham. How'd you see this game going, Laskers?
Oh boy. I think I'm gonna go Patriots, and I'm not gonna give a score. I think they're gonna win by 3.
Gingy.
Last year you stole my thunder. However, I think it's going to come down to. I think it's a more well-coached team. I think New England's going to be a more prepared team, and I think they're going to have a game plan that's going to be able to try to neutralize that high-powered Cleveland running offense. Going to put it in the hands of Baker. And what do I usually say when you put it in the hands of Baker? Donkey. He's gonna roll. He's gonna roll left and throw right across the middle. Typically, what he does. It's his favorite move, swear. And I think that we're going to look at the Patriots there by 6.
I got the Patriots by 8. I've been hyping that team up as a team that all of their losses are to really good teams and in really close games. And I think that team's getting better week by week as Mac Jones sees more and more, and Belichick learns more and more what he can do with Mac Jones. And that defense plays super solid. The team's obviously well coached. I think New England's a team you got to watch out for, and the fact that Buffalo keeps losing games they shouldn't, you might be seeing the Bills as a wild card team once again. That's my hot take for the day. Without anything else crazy going on in the AFC North, which who knows at this rate with the way the AFC is. Before we get into the Steelers game with Chicago, couple housekeeping things. Does anyone think there's an actual dominant team in the AFC, or is this a year where being mediocre can, in fact, not only get you to the playoffs, but perhaps get you to a Super Bowl? Because maybe it looked like Tennessee was that team, but without Derrick Henry, not quite sold. And every other team in the AFC has a bad loss on that schedule, or on that roster, or hasn't been impressive. So, is the AFC ripe for the picking for the Steelers to be mediocre and just kind of do their thing?
Parity is the name of the game, I think, Donkey. Week 1, we saw it. Steelers over Bills. Okay? Everyone's screaming, fluke, fluke. I've heard you say it. I know it was a preseason game for the Bills, blase, blah. A win's a win, man. When you go out there and you put plays on the field with a guy like TJ Watt, forcing fumbles, 3 sacks last week, making plays, I think that AFC is 100% up for grabs. Laskers.
I agree.
I have to look back first and see if I said fluke, because I don't believe those are the words I used. I believe I called it fake football or preseason football. But anyway, Laskers, to you.
I do think it is right for the picking.
This guy.
But the Steelers got to win this week, even with Mason Rudolph, because if we lose, it's going to make it a more of an uphill battle to try to make it to the playoffs.
That's true, especially with a couple losses to a couple of those other wild card teams already. I just don't know what to think about the AFC. Like the NFC, you look, there's a bunch of good teams. The AFC, you look, all the good teams laid eggs. I mean, Buffalo loses to Jacksonville. The Jets have 2 huge wins, and if you watch the Jets, that's kind of impressive. I don't know what's going on. Also, housekeeping thing. I did my research. I found out how Isaiah Loudermilk did, in fact, get that sack against Cleveland. Baker Mayfield ran out of bounds for about a 6-inch loss, and Isaiah Loudermilk, being the closest guy, albeit 7 yards away, got credited for the sack. So congratulations to the young man on his first career sack. Hopefully next time you get to touch the quarterback, though. That's all I got to say to him. But good on him for getting that sack. Adds another sack to someone who's not named TJ Watt, which leads us right into the Chicago game. Can anyone else get a sack but TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, Gingy?
I don't think so. Doesn't look like it.
I mean,
Doesn't look like it. But when they're making plays like big Cam Hayward last week, throwing up that big paw and snagging that ball right out of the air, what else you
he's
gonna
now
really
tied
need?
for the team lead in interceptions. And he has more pass defended than anyone else on the team, too, with batted balls. Maybe Cam Hayward is our best defensive back, Laskers. What you think about that?
I'm starting to think it might might be a possibility that he is. I mean, he was my X Factor 2 weeks ago, and I almost picked him again last week.
You got to ride the same
He's a
X
big
Factor
one.
week after week after week, okay? That's what I'm going to do with Minka because he keeps playing better and better. Eventually, he's going to actually get an interception. That's when I'll stop naming him as the X Factor. But Gingy, there's a guy I would like to talk about, namely a guy I said, I'm really scared, and it looks like he's about to make a big play for the other team rather than our team. And that was your X Factor for the game, who, good call, but he was an X Factor the other way, and that is Ray McLeod. What is going on back there in that return game? Ray hasn't looked like he's been explosive since the second week we had him, which was, what, week 2 of 2020?
Can't put the ball on the ground back there, Donkey. I agree. Unfortunate.
It's just not pretty football. It was a fun Bears game. I mean, a win's a win, right? And that's what you got to do. You got to put them on the board. But sell me on this game and why this game was a good win, Laskers.
I really don't know if I can sell you on that. I mean, again, we come down to needing field goals to win games, and that's not a good plan.
That's well, if you have Boswell, that's a good plan. If you have any other kicker
true.
in the NFL, apparently it's a terrible idea. Yes, I agree. Gingy, what second half of that game the hell happened?
I don't know. Second half, more like 21 points in the fourth quarter for the Bears. We didn't close. Donkeys, what's happening, and that is a bad habit to get into. That defense, I feel, has the killer instinct. We have the pedigree, the resume, guys like Cam Hayward leading them at the end of the game. But for some reason, I feel like we're giving up garbage yards when it ain't garbage time yet.
So that raises the question, does this team have that killer instinct, or is that what the problem is? Is it that this team doesn't know how to... Let's be honest here. This team doesn't know how to put a team away. When was the last time that we handily won a football game? Like, every game we've won in the past, probably now 16 games, has been a nail-biter down to the last drive needing to convert or down to the last drive needing to stop. Is that because this team lacks a killer instinct? And if it does, is there a way to get it?
Need a big play from a big name guy. Who do you think I'm gonna mention, Donkey?
TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, those are about
We're
the only
getting
two
Ray
big names I go
McLeod?
with.
We're getting not
Ben
long name, long name,
Roethlisberger.
not a big name. I'm talking about Minka Fitzpatrick. If we're talking
Yeah,
about the defensive side of the ball and splash plays, Cam and TJ are putting up, but we're not getting the consistency, especially in that passing game, that back half. How many yards did the Bears put up?
Almost
Too
300
many.
passing, which is the second
Too
best or
many
best
for-
game for Fields.
Too many for a Justin Fields-led football team. Okay.
Well, especially since they had 100 more passing yards than we did.
They outgained
Not-
us by like a jillion yards, yeah.
Not good. Not acceptable.
Let's go to the offensive side of the ball because there was some nice things. And I know Gingy really wants to talk about a rookie. But I want to go to Laskers first about another rookie. I'm not saying, and I'm not blaming Najee at all for this. I'm blaming this offensive line can't get any push. And if Najee's going to be, what was the yards per carry last game, Laskers?
2.8.
If Najee's going to be 2.8, I'm not sure how this team is successful against good football teams. We saw how that almost led to no success against the Bears, which are a bad team, and gave us the ball in plus territory a couple times due to mistakes. what is going on here? I mean, it's clearly the problem is not the running back because last year the problem was James Conner. Has anyone seen what he's doing in Arizona? 45-yard twinkle toe touchdowns, leading the NFL in touchdowns scored. Clearly the running back's not the problem. But do we need more from Najee? Can we expect this offensive line to get better, whether it's Zach Banner showing up, or does Najee need to find a way to be a special type of player? Since he was a first round and first running back taken last year, should I expect more out of Najee, or should I realize this isn't his fault because of the line?
Well, I do think we should expect more out of him, but there is definitely some issues with the O-line. I mean, looking at the stats, we did have some other running backs, in quotation marks, that average more yards than he did. Now, granted, they only had 2 carries apiece. Ben's the only one that averaged less with 0 yards.
Well, Benny Snell had a 5-yarder and a 1-yarder, and let's be honest, Benny no yards is a third stringer at best. There's not much depth behind Najee right now. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Gingy, I know you want to talk about a tight end who still doesn't have 60 yards receiving in a game, which still bewilders me, because I'm going to be honest, his hands and ball skills are good. How the hell he's not getting 60 yards a game blows my mind, but let's bring it in. You can do the chant. You can present him however you want, but I'm going to let you have this segment to talk about him.
Moose. Yeah, second round tight end pick. I feel like Donkey, that's working out. That's starting to work out a little bit. Donkey, in terms of the yards per game that we're looking at, I think this is a package. I think this is about, I don't know how many plays he's on the field. I think he's in a limited number of packages, and I think he's probably, I would even say maybe he's emphasized with Ben Roethlisberger in practice, possibly the red zone type of offense, the inside the 20-yard line, wants to be that guy there and is performing just sort of a very niche role for a rookie guy, and he's performing it quite well. 2 touchdowns. Very impressive. I hope that this guy's able to develop into a long-term type of safety blanket at that tight end role for Ben Roethlisberger and for whoever, whatever quarterback takes that role after him.
I'll admit I didn't like the pick at first, but he's showing the ability to catch contested footballs. That's what I like to see. He obviously needs to work on that run blocking. To answer your question, I think the last 2 weeks he's been about 80% snaps since he's been starting tight end, but I think Ebron should be back this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was he was definitely showing up and balling out. I think him and Deontay Johnson have been consistent. You'd like to see more out of Claypool, but Claypool gets hurt last week with his toe. I don't know what you want to feel about that, how we should feel about that. We're seeing Najee start to show up on the injury report with little nagging injuries. Are injuries going to be what undoes this team, or are injuries going to present opportunities to new people to step up? Going into this week, it's a huge question. Gingy, do you see these injuries as people going to step up, or do you see these injuries as what's going to be the first stone to fall in the Steelers? I don't know, let's call it winning dynasty. I won't call it like Super Bowl dynasty, but plethora of non-losing seasons. Are the injuries going to knock us down to that level, or are they going to present opportunities for guys like Freiermuth to get more snaps, for James Washington, for maybe even Ray McCloud? God, please no. Sims, White, all these guys. Are these guys going to step up, or is this going to undo us?
Are you telling me the dynasty's on the line, Donkey, or what?
The winning record. How about that? That was a very poor choice of words.
I'm just messing with you. No, I hope this is an opportunity for these guys to step up. We were talking about Najee earlier and what we can expect from him. Still got 22 carries out of him. I'd like to find a way to try to lighten the load, maybe spread the ball around more, maybe give him an opportunity to hit one of those explosive plays, maybe have a little bit fresher legs in the fourth quarter when maybe the rest of the guys don't. Take advantage of that top-end speed, let him pop one. Yeah, definitely can't have silly plays. Can't give it away like the Bears did last week. Gave it away with silly penalties, some questionable calls. We're not gonna mince words about it there. But Yeah, gonna have to see some guys step up. Really like to see guys like Kalen Balaj maybe step up in the running game. The Benny Snells, those guys behind Najee. And obviously, the big number one donkey this week, Mason. You said you were going to get to this, right? I want to hear it.
Well, I'll start with the Mason thing, but first I want to say, yes, I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Yes, I'm not afraid to admit it. The Steelers won the Chicago game because of the Zebras. I didn't want to start with it. I wanted to end with it so everybody could hear the honest analysis first. But yeah, the Zebras won us that game. And yeah, I'm freaking proud of it because you know what? It's a win. Haters gonna hate.
Ben taking care of the ball, too.
Yep, that's true. Ben did not turn the football over, but we did have a very costly turnover that led to 7. Thank you, Ray. Yes, let's get into this Detroit game. Both teams missing a pretty key starter on offense. Jamal Williams not playing for Detroit. He's their best running back. They're only running back with over 10 carries and over 3.5 yards a carry. That's helpful for the Steelers. But maybe the bigger news is the Steelers missing Chase Claypool, missing Ben Roethlisberger. I personally have changed my pick. I'm keeping the same spread, but the score's different. I think the Steelers are going to finally have that offensive explosion, Gingy. I feel the 30 points are going to finally get broken. And hear me out on this. I'm not saying anything negative about Ben. I'm saying Detroit is a really, really bad team. And Detroit's the type of team that has, if you've watched the games they've lost, they've gotten beaten over the top. Mason Rudolph is the best deep ball thrower on this roster as it stands today. Mason Rudolph is coming in. I hope they give him the playbook. If they have a limited playbook because they didn't have prep time with him, that's a different story. We all know they prepped for Ben to play this week. Ben gets COVID on Saturday. Mason doesn't get a practice. But he has a lot of practice time with the guys who are playing because Freiermuth was backup, so he was getting number 2 snaps. So is James Washington, Ray-Ray McCloud. Pretty much everyone but Deontay Johnson was a backup. So he'll have that there. And I feel you're going to see a throwback Mason Rudolph, James Washington to Oklahoma State days. I think you're going to see about 6 catches, 2 bills, 3 touchdowns for James Washington. I think he really goes off with Mason Rudolph this week. I don't think Detroit has the personnel to get the pressure back there, to get the sacks, which is how you're going to stop us. I think Najee is going to have open room because these safeties aren't going to be able to run in the box. I feel this is going to be a really, really good day for the Steelers offense. It's going to make a lot of Mason haters maybe question themselves. And hopefully when Ben comes back, he plays to where there isn't any quarterback talk. But if Ben struggles and Mason has the day I think he can against Detroit, you might start hearing those whispers about, hey, if we want a Super Bowl or we want to make a run, maybe we got to make that change. You know, like people were saying in New Orleans with Drew Brees his last season. I really do feel this is a chance for Mason to come and show what he has. Will he do it? I don't know. I personally believe he will. I believe this is if there was one game you could tell me Mason gets to make one spot start, I would have picked this game against this team because this fits what he can do. And if he doesn't show up here, it's got to make you question. I'm not going to blame him all out because he didn't have practice time, rep time. But, Laskers, how'd you see this game going?
I'm not 100% buying the 30 points, but I do think that he has the chance because of how bad the Lions are to put up a good score. And I agree the practice time is going to come into a factor, but I think he can do it. My guess is he's probably going to put up 28 points.
Gingy, does 28 points count as an explosion?
For this team, yeah, that would be the most we'd put up all season.
No.
29. Well, yeah, we
just put up 29. We just put up 29.
Yes, 29. yes, 29. But very close.
Close enough.
And that's still though. Again, that game didn't even feel like 29. It was so
it didn't.
stonky, so sus.
It didn't. It didn't. It was a very awkward, unsatisfactory 29, right?
It's just I mean, besides my boy Muse catching them contested balls in the end zone, yeah.
He does do a very nice job of that. I mean, I talked very well about what I saw from the offense. Anybody else see anything else coming in here, and then let's get into what the offensive X factors are. Gingy, let's start with you. Do you see anything else happening against Detroit for us offensively, and who do you think is going to be the key?
Well, for me, obviously, it's the last minute change that occurred here today. Mason Rudolph is the key. Honestly, can he step up to the challenge? I never thought he was the long-term guy. Never thought, but right now, the barrier for him is going to be this last minute. Not knowing that you're going to play all week and then having to all of a sudden be able to have to play. That's going to be the biggest challenge. Mason Rudolph's going to be the X factor. I hope that he can overcome it.
Hey, all I'm going to say is we've seen two different New York Jets quarterbacks step in and throw for over 300 yards and lead their team to over 30 points. Two different ones. Why the hell can't it be us? Our team is certainly a lot more talented than the Jets. Laskers.
My X factor is Najee. I think it's going to come down to Mason. If he can actually make some deep plays, Najee is going to open it up for Najee. But if he can't, we're going to need someone that can get the ball down the field. In either case, it needs to be Najee.
I hear. I wish I had my face cam working or I'd figure it out. Because if you could see my notepad right now that I'm holding up to the screen for no reason because you can't see it, my X factor for my notes that I wrote on Thursday was Ben Roethlisberger. You know what? He's out. So I'm just going to roll it. It has to be Mason. If I thought it was Ben, then it definitely has to be Mason because he's in a bigger role than Ben would be. I thought Ben had to play a good game, another clean game for the Steelers to win. I feel Mason doesn't necessarily have to play a clean game, but he has to play an explosive game because if Mason Rudolph, even if he turns the ball over once or twice, if he can make Detroit have to respect over the top, that's going to get him taking a step back on the line. That's going to make him think a little bit slower, and that's going to open up holes for Najee. And if Najee can get back to the 4 yards of carry we saw one time this year, was it 3-4 weeks ago? If we can get that going, then those safeties have to be confused. Do they step up or do they stay back? And that's when you get explosive plays. Both in the running and the pass game is when you get the safety and the secondary players not knowing if they should be up or back. Because someone's going to miss an assignment and you have to take advantage. That's why I think Mason's going to be the X factor, a little bit for different reasons than I was going to give Ben, but still, same idea. Now let's roll into the defensive side of the ball. Detroit just cut Brashad Perryman, so they lost a fast guy on the outside, but he really didn't do anything this year. Like I said, Williams isn't playing, so that's good. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl, but are we really scared of him? I don't know. What I'm more scared at, Gingy, is their leading receiver is a tight end in TJ Hawkinson, and we know what tight ends can do against the Steelers. I mean, whatever the hell his name is, last week had 87 yards. Laskers, help me out because you know I can't remember the dude's name.
Oh, come on. I moved away from the Bears. Cole Kmet.
Yeah, that guy had 87 yards. I don't even know who the hell he is. So, Gingy, can we slow down Hawkinson? And the bigger question is, does it even matter if we let him get his yards?
It doesn't as long as we don't allow the big one over the top. A couple big ones from Justin Fields last week that allowed them to blow the game open and minimize those penalties. No dumb plays, no big plays. If Hawkinson wants to have 7 for 60, 7 for 80, whatever, won't matter.
That's fair. X factor for you on the defensive side of things.
You looking for me, Donkey? X factor?
Yeah, y'all.
You know what? Last week, we're talking about guys stepping up, right? There's a guy I want to really see step up in the secondary. We talked about him a ton in the offseason. I want to see a step up from Cameron Sutton. I think that's going to be your X factor on defense. I want to be able to see him lock down on the outside and make sure that if anybody is getting some, only Hawkinson in the middle. Because we don't want to see, is this Jared Goff out here? We don't want to see Goff out here feasting.
It's been a long time since Jared Goff has been feasting, unfortunately for him. Laskers, what are you seeing on defense?
Well, I'm gonna continue with what Gingy has said. 7 for 80, as long as there are no touchdowns, it'll be okay from the tight end. But I think I'm hoping for another Cam Hayward interception this week. I think that'll be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. So this guy, I'm gonna keep putting him as my X factor until he decides to get an interception. He's played 2 good games as my X factor, but nothing explosive. And again, this secondary needs to create an explosive play. The biggest name in this secondary is Minkah Fitzpatrick. So if someone's gonna step up and lead the secondary to start taking a step forward rather than 2 interceptions by the secondary in 8 games, I'd like to see them out-intercept the offensive line. I don't want to see Cam Hayward have the most pass defended and interceptions on the team. I'm not down with that. Minkah Fitzpatrick, get a couple interceptions, start leading this team. You're going to be my X factor until you step it up to the level you can, which playing good football is one thing, but you have been a game changer since we changed or traded for you. You need to keep doing that. I'm going to say X Factor has to be Minkah. And that means we have about one thing left to do, and that's predict the score. Who gets to go first this week? Who was the best predictor last week? Gingy? I mean, Lasker's going to predict a loss, so he technically won, but he lost. So, Gingy, we'll go with you because you were the only one who called it as good as you did, I guess, because I was a little off on the score.
I am looking for the Lions to hopefully remain being the Lions. I don't know about the offensive explosion, but I still think there's a solid, consistent, sound performance from Mason. I'm hoping that he does rise to the challenge. 24-9. Steelers in a solid win.
Ooh, that's some defense there. I like that. Laskers, what's up?
30-28 Lions, and that one actually hurts to pick the Lions, but hey,
Oh
I gotta
my.
continue. I gotta continue with this streak that I'm
The
on right now.
streak is alive. So my original score was gonna be 28-14 because I feel like this is an easy 2-touchdown win. I know everyone's gonna say trap game, Steelers second trap games. Man, my preseason record for this team that I predicted like 6 months ago is perfect right now. Not the game-wise, but the record-wise. So I'm going to assume they keep going. I predicted a Detroit win then. I'm predicting, or not Detroit, a win over Detroit. Wow, that sounded terrible. A win over Detroit then. I'm picking one now. I think it's going to be offensive explosion, 31-17. That's the Steelers by 14. I don't know what's giving me this hope, but hey, with the AFC the way it is, I think I deserve to have some hope because while I'm not sold on the Steelers, I sure as hell ain't sold on any other team in the AFC. So this is the year I'm going to wave it as hard as I can. You're going to hear my kids, including my 18-month-old, chanting, "Here we go, Steelers," in the morning. Even though we don't get to watch the game, we'll listen to it on the radio while we watch the stupid Cowgirls game. You guys got any housekeeping items before we get to shout-outs?
Oh, we got one thing. There was another pickup this week. The
There
man,
was?
yeah,
Oh, Cam!
Cam Newton. Yeah, Cam Newton got picked back up by his old team.
Cam's back in Carolina where he belongs. Yes, I totally skipped that one. Thank you, Laskers. Laskers, is that a needle mover for the Panthers?
I don't think so.
Gingy, needle mover Panthers?
It'd take a lot more than that down there to move that needle.
To be fair, I don't think he could play any worse than Sam Darnold has the last 3 weeks, but neither here nor there. All right, good housekeeping save there, Laskers. Gingy, you got any?
I'm good.
All right, that leads us to shout-outs. And, well, Laskers, you're back. Give us one.
I'm gonna go shout out to TJ and his 3 sacks last week. He only had 4 tackles, but he had 3 sacks. So I think that's pretty good.
That's game-changing plays, sacks, possession downs, all that fun stuff. Gingy, shout out.
I want to use a shout out this week for a little bit of inspirational motivation for a person on the Steelers who've had some banger games so far this year. Rookie guy had a tough game last week. All right, I want to show the Steelers Nation is going to stay with you. Presley Harvin had a couple of questionable boots last week. Did drop one after that though, back spinning. inside the 10-yard line. Like to see that. Want to give a shout out to a rookie guy. Hopefully he's going to be here for a long time. Come on, Presley Harvin, bounce back.
Quick question for your shout out, Gingy, not to call it, but do you think those shanks were because the Steelers were telling him to try to angle kick away from a dangerous returner?
Not out of the question. I'm not sure
Fair,
what
that's
kind of orders Danny Smith that was out there arguing in between chawing on that bubble gum.
He was aggressively chewing that bubble gum. I tell you.
It was getting that jaw has to be sore as hell by the end of that game.
Yin's never seen a piece of gum chewed like he does it. That leaves me for shout outs. I can't focus.
I hope you shout him out.
No, my shout out has to go. You know I love when people set records. So my shout out is going to go. 1, Mike Tomlin, past Bill Cowher. Congrats. Always great to see. By the way, same amount of years, so it's very level playing field. It tells you how good this team has been for some 30 plus years. My God, that's good to see. And shout out number 2. There is a new all-time passing yardage leader in the University of Pittsburgh, and that is Kenny Pickett. Congratulations to you, young man, and can't wait to see your name called in the first round of the NFL draft. But it's that time. It's very sad. It's time for us all to say goodbye. For myself, the Viking Donkey, I appreciate it all. You know you can reach me there on Xbox, Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose of donkey with Ginger on the YouTube. Leave us a comment, leave us a like, leave us a sub. Let us know what we're doing. Let us know if you want to be part of it. Let us know what we could do better. And hey, Laskers, you want to go and then send it to Gingy for our final farewell for Week 10?
I can do that. You can find me Laskers everywhere. That includes Xbox. Playing some Madden today. Been playing some Division. And that's about it. Over to you, Gingy.
Mutant Gingy on Xbox Live. We rocking out playing some video games, talking some football with some friends. We got a 1 o'clock banger tomorrow afternoon. The Steelers going to maintain that pride in the house and hang out and try to not give one away to the 0-8 Lions. So Steelers Nation, if you don't want that to happen, sit back, kick back, and wave them if you got them. Here we go, Steelers.